Hello, people. How's it going? I need a haircut. Yeah, I am now going to tread where all historians should go and should point out the obvious, but apparently history isn't about facts. It's about feelings. So, Jesus was a Jew. He was born in Judea. You can see my map. Here's Jerusalem. Make sure you can see it. And here's Bethlehem, where he was born. Bethlehem is in Judea. It's not Palestine. It's never been Palestine. Now, first, I will read a few things. Okay? Now, if Jesus was a Palestinian, I want to quote two things in the Bible. I want you to explain to me if he was a Palestinian. He wasn't. Why would the wise man ask this question? Here we go. I say, now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, Jews, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born king of the Jews? Of the Palestinians, the Jews. It's actually Palestinians. Why would they ask for Jews? It is one of those things that gets me because, one, history is not taught anymore. Politics is taught as history now. Nonsense is me and the sun. Me and the sun. Anyway, I mean, they're asking where the king of the Jews is. They're in Judea. They're in Jerusalem. They are sent to Bethlehem. King Herod knows who he's talking about. But the Messiah would be the king of the Jews of the Palestinians, because the Palestinians don't exist. Now let's go to Pontius Pilate, who asked pretty much the same question, only differently. Then Pilate entered into the judgment hall again, and called Jesus. Said unto him, art thou the king of the Jews? He doesn't ask him for the king of the Palestinians. He doesn't inquire about the Palestinians, because Rome didn't even think. See, it frustrates me because it tells me that history is not taught. It's not even taught in seminaries. I've heard pastors use the word Palestine, and they really should know better, particularly when they're dealing with dates. The Jewish revolt against Rome in 130 something AD. I'm going to do this right. This is my way. The Jewish Roman wars were a series of large-scale revolts by the Jews of Judea against the Roman Empire between 66 and 135 Common Era. Primarily applies to the first Jewish revolt, 66-73, where Jerusalem is sacked and destroyed, and the Bar Hamabah revolt, 132 to 136, which sought restoring Judea independence and was lost as the Hamaskin Civil War. It was at this point that Rome basically said, we're going to kick the Jews out, and we're going to change the name of Judea, which is what it was always called, and we're going to call it Syria Palestinian. Okay? They combined Syria with Judea, that region with Judea. Okay? It was called that until about 390 AD. It went through a lot of interesting history. For about a few hundred years, that's what it was. Okay? The Emperor Hadrian said, okay, we need to solve this Jewish problem. We're going to solve our Jewish problem by kicking the Jews out and changing the name. That's where the word Palestine comes from. It really didn't last very long. Even in usage, it didn't last very long. But it's frustrating to me because the word Palestine, if you look at the origin of the word Palestine, it comes from the word the Philistines. The Philistines were the original Palestinians, if you want to call them that. We're going to call them that just for the argument's sake. Do you know where the Philistines came from? They didn't come from the Middle East. They came from the Judean Sea. Most archaeologists and most historians believe that they came from Judean, and if I remember correctly, that's near Greece, which would be Europe. So if you're supporting Palestine, you're actually supporting Europe. So you're actually supporting colonialism, because that's what the Philistines did. They invaded the Middle East. They are the sea invaders. That's what Philistines practically means, invaders. It means the sea invaders. That's who they were. It's frustrating, I think, in a lot of ways, because when I listen to some of these teachers, some of these books I read, it's like, okay, you can name it Palestine after 136, okay, because that's when it was changed, if you want. You want to be correct historically. It will always be Judea. It was always going to be Judea. Even in the Crusades, it was probably called Judea, not Poland. It's frustrating when I listen to these teachers see the word Palestine, and it's obvious they have no idea of the roots of that word. They have no idea of the history of that word. It's become politicized. There were no Palestinians until there weren't any. Well, most of those Palestinians came from, you want to call them that, or Jordanian. Most of them came from the Jordan. It's frustrating to me to listen to these people say, oh, Jesus was a Palestinian. Impossible. There were no Palestinians. Or the Romans would have mentioned them. The Romans in the ancient sources don't mention Palestinians. They mention Jews, Greeks, and a whole bunch of other people, including Arabs, by the way. They mention the Arabs, but not Palestinians. Palestinians is a word made up by refugees that other Arab countries did not want. Pretty much what they are. Pretty much who they are. They woke up one day being one people, and all of a sudden they're being called something else. And it's frustrating to me because Jesus was a Jew. His parents were Jews. Judea is Jewish, hence the word. Judea means Jew. That's where he was born. He was born a Palestinian. I get emotional. I get frustrated with this because too many people. Too many people just blithely accept whatever they're told. Because some biblical scholars stood up and just used the word because they're too lazy to look up when the word was used, why it was used. Emperor Hadrian said, okay, after this last revolt, you Jews are out here. And we're changing the name. We are going to try to erase you from history. And that's the only reason they changed it. They literally changed the name. It is frustrating because the wise men asked, where's the king of the Jews? They didn't ask, where's the king of the Palestinians? Where's the king of the Palestinians? They didn't ask that because that's who they were looking for. Pontius Pilate didn't ask the king of who are you the king of the Palestinians because he knows they weren't any. Jesus was Jewish. He lived and died a Jewish life. He was born to Jewish parents. He was the Jewish Messiah. He wasn't a Muslim. He didn't preach Allah. He preached God. He preached God the Father. A Muslim will not claim God as their father. Will not claim Allah as a father and their father. You know what I mean? It's frustrating. I get very frustrated because I listen to some of these biblical scholars who people hold up. And I read some of these books, and it's like, you know better. You should know better. The name was not changed until a certain time and period. And you know why the name was changed. But you're lazy, and you don't want to offend anybody. History doesn't care about your feelings. I don't care about your feelings. It's frustrating to me. I'll read something. I like reading things. I like being clear on my facts. I don't know. Syria, Palestinia, Romanized Syria, Palestina, was a renamed Roman province, formerly known as Judea, following the Roman suppression of the Bar Kokhba revolt in what then became known as the Palestinian region. Between the early 2nd century, 4th century AD. The provincial capital was Caesarea Maritima. It didn't last. It only lasted a few hundred years. Historians who write about this era drive me crazy because they refuse or they just don't care about being accurate when they use Palestine in any context. If you're going to use it, fine. Use it in a context. Use it in the context for which it exists. Established 136 AD, as I said. This established 390 AD. Let's see. I read that already. The name Syria-Palestinian was given to the former Roman province of Judea in the 2nd century, as I said. Renaming it is often presented as an act of primitive dissociation with the aftermath of the AD 132-34 revolt, identifying Emperor Hadrian as the one responsible for the measure. Though no direct evidence suggests whatever when the name change was implemented by whom, and the renaming may even have taken place before the conclusion of the revolt. While the name Judea bore an ethnic connotation to Jews, Syria-Palestina had a strict geographical meaning. Some authors in the late antiquity Rome continued to refer to the region as Judea. Out of habit due to the prominent association with Jews, they didn't care what the Romans had changed it. They knew what it was. Anything of interest. Other scholars and commentators disagree with the creative origin of the term. Well, that's their problem, not mine. Look, some scholars literally think that that's what it was called originally, and they're wrong. I'm sorry, they're wrong. They are wrong. It's always been Judaism. It will always be Judaism. It hasn't changed, and just because the wrong, as I keep saying, and I know it's repetitive, it's very frustrating when I listen to people who claim to know history, and claim to know their Bible, and claim to know this, that, and the other, constantly using the word out of context. You can use the word, but use it in the context of what it was. The word stopped being used about 390 AD. It no longer really was that region of it was Judea. Just because the Romans changed it doesn't change it to anybody else. The Jews still saw it as Judea. God still sees it as Judea. Jesus certainly saw it as Judea. But the sad reality is I watch a lot of these people and I read a lot of these books by well-meaning authors. It's obvious that they're using the term because scholars, so-called, use it now. And it's obvious. So every once in a while I'll run into a book that doesn't use it. Rare once in a while. But too many of them use the word Palestine without even clarifying why it became that, who changed it, why, where the original name came from, who the original Palestinians were. They were Philistines. The Philistines were the original Palestinians. That's where the name comes from. It is just a different name than the Philistines, who really were sea invaders. They really were invaders from the sea. Most historians believe they came from the Judean. They invaded the Middle East, not the other way around. This is why it frustrates me to no end when I listen to these people on TV and I listen to all these protesters and these activists and these blah, blah, blah. And they haven't a clue. They haven't a clue because they haven't bothered, and they're not going to, and they're not going to bother to study history. They convince themselves that they're in some great cause, and they're not. I mean, learn history. Find out where the word came from. And if you're going to write and use the word, use it in the context that it was originally put there for. Why? And explain why. If it's these writers who use the word indiscriminately as if someone explains everything, it really doesn't. There is no Palestine. There never has been a Palestine. It's always been Judea. It'll always be Judea. And just because the Romans or anybody else on the Arabs when they invaded and took over. And even when the Ottoman Empire took over, it still wasn't called Palestine. And if they did use it called Palestine, they were wrong. This wasn't a Palestinian. There's no such thing. It really is a fiction. I mean, I do feel sorry for the people who call themselves Palestinians. I really do, because they've been stabbed in the back by the Muslims. But the very people who are using them as cannon fodder for some other purpose. I mean, Jesus didn't talk like a Muslim. Read the Bible and then read the Quran, and I have read the Quran. Read it. Tell me how they sound anything alike, because they don't. They do not. Jesus talks about God as a father. Muslims do not talk about God as a father. He is God. Jesus talks about God as being personal. Muslims don't believe in a personal God. He is very impersonal in their religion. Jesus talks about God as being personal, about caring, about compassion. Not really in the Muslim lexicon. Not really. But I don't think it's off topic. It is frustrating because I don't mind if you use the word, but use it in the context for which it is or it should be used. If you're going to use the word, use it in context. That's all I'm asking. And be honest about the word. Be honest where it came from. Be honest why Judea was changed to Syria and Palestine. Because they combined the two places. What they did was they took Syria and Judea and said, okay, now there's just this. Judea doesn't exist anymore. The Romans tried to wipe it off the map. It didn't go anywhere. Jesus was born in Bethlehem. He was born in Palestine. Because Bethlehem is in Judea. Judea is a name for Jews. I mean, it's not called Palestinia or how I would say that with Judean, but it's not. I mean, it's sad to listen to so many well-meaning scholars misuse the word so badly and not care. That's why there are all these activists joining the Hamas groups. That's why all the activists are doing what they're doing, because they're not being taught history. They're being taught, political activism. They're being fooled and used as sheep by all these Hamasian groups, all these other groups that don't like Jews, and they are being fooled and they are being used. And once it's frightening to me, it really does bother me to watch this because a lot of it is the fact that history is not taught. The facts of history are not taught. The facts of where the name comes from is not taught. The facts of why it was changed is not taught. The history of the region is not taught. I mean, political activism has destroyed history teaching. People don't learn history anymore. They just don't. I've done my research. Palestinians are named after Philistines. And the Philistines aren't even from the Middle East. They're from the Judean. They might even mean Greek. Or at least Greek related anyway. But we have Emperor Hadrian. I'm sure Metatron will correct my Latin watching this. If you want to learn good Roman history, go to Metatron's YouTube channel. Very good at Roman history. He's an excellent fellow, an Italian fellow from Sicily. But he's a lot of fun to watch. If you want to learn some good Roman history, watch his thing. I'm an amateur when it comes to Roman history. I'm far better at Jewish history. But I'll learn. I mean, as I keep saying, but the fact is, Judea will always be Judea. And just because the Romans changed the name to Syria, Palestinia, almost said Palestinian, Palestinia doesn't change what it is. To a Jew, it's always going to be Judea. Always going to be Judea. Just because you change the name doesn't change anything. Biblical knowledge is not being taught. History is not properly anyway. It's sad. Because I've said many times, when I read some of these books, and a lot of these authors are well-meaning, and I think they're just doing it so they can, because I don't think they think about it. I think a lot of them just simply do not think about what they are writing down. It matters. It matters what you call a place. It matters why a name is changed. It matters why an entire people was literally kicked out of their own homeland. And of course, naturally, Jews being Jews, it's not that yet. What's that? Because it's Judea, it's our homeland. That's where we as a people became a people. There are no Philistines. Sorry. They might be pseudo-Philistines. They might be pseudo-Palestinians. And they want to call themselves Palestinians. Other people may want to call them Palestinians. But they're not Palestinians. There's no such people. Show me in the historical record a kingdom, a city-state, a country, a history of such people. And I'll look into it. But there isn't any. There is none. Which is why they try to make Jesus into a Palestinian, which is why they try to make Abraham into a Palestinian, which is why they try to make Moses into a Palestinian, which is why they keep trying to turn all the patriarchs and all the historical Jewish personages into Palestinians, because they don't have any of their own. They literally don't have any of their own. They have to take other people's history and rewrite it, which is why we have the problems we have now. Because nobody's learning history. Nobody's trying to. But anyway, Jesus was not a Palestinian. His mother, his stepfather were not Palestinians. He also wasn't homeless. He could have easily gone to Nazareth with his mom. He wasn't homeless. King Herod was asked, where is he who was born king of the Jews? Not the king of the Palestinians. Pontius Pilate asked, are you the king of the Palestinians? No, he asked, are you the king of the Jews? It's frustrating, and I know I shouldn't get frustrated, but it's just that history is not being taught anymore. Political activism is being taught, and political activists are being used by other political activists for a cause that really, in the end, they're going to discover was false, and it's not really good. But anyway, thanks for watching. Yes, I might do one more video today, so thank you for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Behave yourselves people, because this Jew certainly isn't going to. See you later.